I remember when I lost my mind. There was some songs about that place. Maybe you remember to time and echo so much space. When you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. Much. That makes me crazy. That makes me crazy. That makes me crazy. Possibly. But now that you're having time of your life, but then twice, it's only twice. Now who you think you are? That's just so. Anything you're in control. I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. Just like me. My heroes have heart, so there's a life I don't live. Oh, I remember thinking, oh, be like you. Yes, I did. Ever since I was a little like fun. And there's no coincidence I've come. Now when I'm done, but I'm not done. Baby, crazy. Baby, I'm crazy. Baby, we're crazy. Wait and see. Oh, trouble so hard, don't nobody know my troubles with God. Don't nobody know my troubles with God. I say, ooh, Lord, my troubles so hard. Ooh, Lord, trouble. Don't nobody know my troubles with God. Don't nobody know my troubles with God.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this very special webinar today. I am so excited that we have John Romano coming back to teach us all of these great information. I do want to let you know that if you have any questions, be sure to put those in the Q&A box, and that way I will monitor them and we will ask those throughout the webinar today. And then later on, you're going to meet our incredible partners over at HMR, OnPoint Legal Nurse Consulting, and Fox-AE. We love working with these organizations and we can't wait for you guys to meet everybody. But let's go ahead and get started because we have a lot we're going to be talking about today. For those of you who don't know, John Romano is the founder of the Romano Law Group in West Palm Beach. And a neat fact about John is before he became one of America's most beloved trial lawyers, he was actually a captain in the United States Marine Corps. He's board certified, he's gone to trial in just about every single type of civil and criminal case that you can imagine. He was inducted in the Trial Lawyers Hall of Fame in 2016. And not only is he an author, but he is one of the most sought after speakers in the country. And I am so proud that John and Nancy are about to come upon their 50th state in Hawaii that he will be speaking at in just another week or so. So I'm so proud of him for that. And in addition to that, John has also been a past president of the Melvin Belli Society, the National Trial Lawyers, the Southern Trial Lawyers Association, as well as the Florida Justice Association. But we all know that at home, John is actually the vice president. He's been married to his beautiful wife, Nancy, for over 52 years now, and they have 11 beautiful grandchildren, with a couple of them that just graduated from college last week. So, John, we are so excited to have you with us today, and I'm very proud to turn this webinar over to you.
Ginger, you control my camera.
There we go. Perfect.
There we go. Well, thank you very much, Ginger. And again, a big thank you to Ginger, our executive director, who makes all things happen with Connectionology Seminars of America. And without Ginger, none of this happens. And what was amazing is, again, these last few years, including all those COVID times, it was Ginger who was putting together the webinars for all of us so that CLE continued right through. So we're going to focus on production, on productivity, the movement of cases in your law firm. What is it that happens in one firm that continues to, in a streamlined form, the cases move, case in, case out, case in, case out. This one gets settled, this one gets tried, but they move and they move and they move. And yet in another firm over here, case in, gets bogged down, nobody's working on it. It goes onto the back shelf. Fees are not coming in. It's day and night the way these firms are being run, they're being managed. So we're going to talk about productivity. What makes us productive as lawyers, paralegals, legal assistants, investigators in the firm, and other personnel. I have often wondered, I will see right here in Palm Beach County at our courthouse, one lawyer I know who is handling a certain type of rear end collision and intersection collision cases. And they involve a set of facts which that lawyer handles, it seems, trial after trial after trial. There's another lawyer across town handling the same exact kinds of cases. But the one lawyer, he goes into trial and he's coming away on cases where there is a disc, surgery, and that lawyer is coming out with verdicts, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $1 million, $800,000, $1.8 million, time and time again. The other lawyer, same cases, a finding of no permanency, $120,000 verdict, $200,000, $60,000. What is going on that makes it so different one law firm to the next? Well, it has a lot to do with attitude. It has a lot to do with work ethic. It has a lot to do, frankly, it has a lot to do with case selection. But we're not here to talk about case selection as much today as some other things. But it has to do with the productivity of the entire team in the office. When I was in high school, I will share with you that one day they called everybody out and we went into this, it wasn't an auditorium, it was more like a huge open area in the school. We all sat down and they had a gentleman come and put on a little talk for us. And this guy was with a company called World's Finest Chocolate. I think that was the name. And he was there to do a program where they were going to be giving 2 boxes of, I want to say it was like 24 of these big, thick candy bars, chocolate candy bars, World's Finest Chocolate. Boxes of 24 each, and 2 boxes would be given to every student in the school. And the idea was that we would go out sell the candy bars, bring in the money, and somehow he got part, the school got part, World's Finest Chocolate got part. And I was thinking as we started getting ready for today about that day, because there was a contest going on in the school dealing with which student can be the most productive and sell the most candy, because the quota for everybody was the 2 boxes of 24 each. And as you can well imagine, a lot of kids didn't even sell the 48 bars. Most kids did. And then there were the super sellers who were selling 10 boxes, 15 boxes. And all of a sudden, we hear on the final day, they're announcing who the winners are. And then they go, Charles, and I'll make up his last name, Charles Smith. And they call him up. And by the way, the highest up to that point was somebody that sold like 40 boxes. And they announced Charlie sold 200 boxes. And I was sitting there stunned thinking, how could you do that? Because I was walking up and down the neighborhood where we live trying to get people to buy chocolate candy that most of them did not need or want, but they felt sorry for us, so they would buy it, like when we sold the raffle tickets. As it turns out, he went to his grandmother, who lived in a mansion in Palm Beach, and she said, I'll take 200 boxes and I'll use them as gifts. And she stroked him a check and he won the contest. And I was thinking, what does that mean in terms of productivity? Do we say for that particular task or project, Charlie was the most productive student in the high school? He sold 200, nobody even came close. Did it have to do with luck and not, well, we all know that it had to do with a lot of luck and not so much effort and hard work and trying to be a skilled salesperson as a high school kid. I remember feeling bad for the 2 or 3 kids that had 35, 38, 40 boxes because they worked so hard, and he ends up getting the grand prize, whatever it was. It's just like once in a while, you will hear about a lawyer who somehow lands a great case, like the ultimate case, crystal clear liability, a ton of insurance coverage, great clients, and there's a $10 million settlement or something, maybe even higher than that. And the lawyer does virtually nothing and they throw the money at him. And once in a while, I do hear about something like that happening. Does that mean that's a productive lawyer? Is that what that is? No. The productivity we are talking about is effective, efficient, smart, wise workers who are team players, who pull it all together on behalf of the firm. The biggest surprise that I have seen when trying to assess and evaluate who is productive and who is not, because I'll hear older lawyers always saying, well, you know, these younger lawyers nowadays, they don't work the way I did, and they don't. I go, no, don't say that to me. That's nonsense. Generation by generation by generation, you have workers and you have those who are lazy. You just do. And I don't find any difference between older and younger, with the exception of distractions. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So I want to go now to the PowerPoint. We're going to go through some specifics having to do with, let me pull this up. All right. We're going to go into our Cracking the Case of Law Firm Productivity and Efficiency, Unveiling the Sherlock Holmes of Law Firm Fulfillment, Accomplishment, efficiency. Why do I say that? Fulfillment and accomplishment. When you do good things and you get good results and you have happy clients, then you have a happy judge, usually, and you have happy staff at your law firm, and you bring home the bacon for your family, and that provides a level of satisfaction and happiness, and it makes everything more fulfilling, and you feel great about yourself and what you have accomplished. So as we go through this, I want to start with, we're going to share a few quotes with you having to do with productivity. Focus on being productive instead of being busy. We all know the busy person. That person is like constantly buzzing around, work, 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 and yet nothing's being accomplished. We had a lawyer who worked for us. This is at the first firm I was with when I came out of the Marine Corps. And he went and had some jobs first, went to law school, like about age 32 or 33, ultimately came to work for us. Now, let me tell you what qualities he had. Good attitude, bright, good work ethic, okay? But here's what he didn't have: the ability to start something and finish it. If you gave him a brief, he would keep going over page one. No, it's not right. And he was obsessed with that. And he would struggle to get to page two. And you go, I need a brief. And what I learned was, it's good and important to have lawyers who have good work ethic, good attitude, smart, but that's not enough. We have to be able to accomplish something. We have to be able to carry the ball into the end zone. We have to be able to serve an ace. We have to be able to not just go up to the tree we want to climb, but be able to get up to the tree and do whatever needs to be done in the tree. Strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value. What value do you add as a lawyer or staff member to your law firm every minute of every day? That's the key. We want to bring value to the team. What we are trying to do is raise the level. We are trying to, you hear the term, take it to the next level? That's the key. Make yourself indispensable. Does it mean you will become indispensable? No. What I'm talking about is take steps every day to try to make yourself indispensable. Meaning your law firm or whatever business somebody may be in, they can't go forward without you. That's how much you are needed and how important you are to that team. We need to strive to do that. And we do that by trying to be of more and more and more value. Another quote, until we manage time, we can manage nothing else. Everyone who is listening to this gets frustrated day in and day out with time management and scheduling issues. And some of you I know are way better than most. And maybe you don't have as much of a problem with it, but most of us do. And the real key is to get that under control. Be thinking about what you need and not scheduling things on top of each other and mixing them up like that. Here's another one. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. You all know what that is when it comes to productivity. Here's a great one I love. You don't need a new plan for next year. You need a commitment. I want people who are committed to what we do, committed to the system of justice, committed to the client, committed to winning the case in that deposition, committed to going into that hearing, prepped up like you're going to the biggest battle you could ever be involved in. That's what you want, commitment. And that's where you're putting the entirety of your heart and your soul and your blood, your sweat and tears into what you are doing in these cases. Another one, efficiency. It's doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. And this one, don't prioritize your schedule, schedule your priorities. By the way, this has been a tough one for me because I have always been someone who is, I don't know what the term would be, but invited people to put a lot on my plate. I've always enjoyed that. I like that. I like being active and doing a lot, but it can have its downside. And one of the downsides is that your priorities get out of whack. You can't do that. There are certain things that are, they've got to be at the top when it comes to priorities, such as family, such as health, such as focusing on your clients and doing what is best for them, such as focusing on the staff at your law firms and taking care of them. Very, very important. So here we go. You see the world's finest chocolate. At least this box has 60 bars in it. I remember ours had 24 bars. The biggest problem I had with these, as soon as I got home, the first day we would get them, I would go through a couple of these, and it was, it really, I guess it was the world's finest chocolate. All right. As I talk about this day, I often discuss this with folks, how we are no different than third graders. You see, the surveys show that the day of the week missed most in school by third graders, Monday. The surveys also show it's the same thing for high school students, college students, young adults, middle-aged adults, retired people who are involved in volunteer activities. It's Monday. Second day, Friday, is the second most missed day. And a lot of people, because they've had a long weekend, they want the weekend to continue. As to Monday, for Friday, it's getting a hard head start on the weekend. And for a lot of other people, it's they seem to not feel as well Fridays and Mondays. Well, of course not, because of the closeness to the weekend. And we all know there are some exceptions. Day after a holiday, that's number 3. By the way, the Monday after Super Bowl Sunday, the single biggest day of people calling in sick for school and work. All right. 7 deadly sins of employee inefficiency. All of this information I've obtained from reviewing and reading articles, books and chapters in books, talking to people, seeing things with my own eyes. So we'll go through these. Here we go. I think you knew this was coming. Number 1, smartphones. I was in Las Vegas for a meeting recently, and I heard a federal judge from up north. He gets up in front of this group of about, I don't know, there may be 500 lawyers in the room. And as he looked out, he could see so many fiddling with their cell phones, fiddling with their computers. And I guess he felt he was in court because he said, put your damn computers down. Turn your smartphones off. And then he held up his smartphone and he goes, folks, these things have been engineered to addict us. That's how they're made. And the software packages that we go to, we call apps, are to draw us in to where we don't want to leave them. And some people, they can't even function without knowing their cell phone is with them and it's on, and they're always waiting for the buzz or the movement or the sound. Smartphones, they're killers in the law office for lawyers and staff. They're paying too much attention to them. Texting people, receiving text, sending all the personal emails. And in some instances, it's devastating. Internet surfing. I don't even need to discuss that. You know what that is all about, how it happens. Personal projects. You know, a few years ago, let me see, I'm going to say now it's probably been about 8 years. I had heard about a firm in Florida where they decided to give the normal Christmas holiday and then shut down the office between Christmas and New Year's, give the normal New Year's holiday, and then open up. And I was talking to the office manager or business manager for that firm, and I asked her, what got you into that? She goes, look, John, starting a few days before Christmas, people's minds shut down when it comes to the practice of law and their work. And there are exceptions, obviously there are exceptions. But for the most part, their mind is on family, shopping, buying food, entertaining guests, going to holiday parties, and making it a more enjoyable time, spending time with family. And that's where their mind is at. And the more I thought about that, the more I agreed. And we reached a point where I said, here's what we're going to do from now on. We're going to shut the office down. It varies each year, but usually 2 or 3 days before Christmas Day. And we're going to keep it shut down until usually what amounts to 2 or 3 days after New Year's. And that's been a good and wonderful thing for our staff. We do require everyone to stay in touch, monitor their computers, make sure there's not some emergency or deadline, those kinds of things, so that nothing falls through the cracks. And then we have people that basically are very much like physicians that are on call should anything come up. But I recognize that there are a lot of personal projects going on at those times. The problem is, take a day like today, Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023. This is a work day. People have got to be able to focus on work without all of these distractions. And it's a tough thing, but you got to talk to them, counsel them, and pull them away from personal projects. Because some people will give you an 8-hour workday and will stay focused on the work. Others, not so. In fact, I'm going to give you some statistics in a little bit. Some of you may know this, but in one of the recent surveys done, it showed that in terms of office staff, meaning in law firms, insurance agencies, accounting firms, those types of jobs, the average worker provides 2.23 hours per day of productive work. So out of an 8-hour day, 2.23 hours of productive work. Next item, coasting. Coasting is someone, I'm sure you've heard of the term quiet quitting. It's where some people, and you've seen this, you all were in school, so you saw it when you were in school, you've seen it in work, you've seen it in your activities. They just coast. They just do the bare minimum to get by to where they won't get in trouble for it. and that's not going to lead to much in the way of productivity. That means things are just happening somewhat happenstance in most instances. Working on non-essentials. Going back to priorities, you got to focus on the things that need to get done. The most important things in the practice of law. Movement of the cases, okay? If I have a product liability case and there are 4 defendants, and those 4 defendants hit us today with the first round of interrogatories to the plaintiff, some with requests for admissions, some sending us all kinds of requests for production. I want certain staff on it right now, as opposed to, well, I've been working on an SOP for the firm to deal with how we are going to set up the furniture in our kitchen and breakout room area. Stop. We got to pay attention to the interrogatories. The kitchen furniture placement can wait. This one is an important one. People biding time. Everybody, and you know who you are. I point the finger at me too. You remember when you'd be sitting in class in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade especially, and oh my goodness, if it was a 1-hour class, by about minute 48 or 49, your head was over to the right looking up at that clock above the door, and each time it clicked off another minute, you were happy, and then the joyous moment when the bell rang. You were just biding time to get out of that class before something bad happened, like you would get called on. Sometimes people do that, lawyers and staff. They just are biding time, or you'll see them by around 4:15 in the afternoon. This is glued to their hands because it's just, I want to get the day over with and go. Not the more motivated ones, but some. And those who go through the motions. All right. Foundational, what I call persona of your lawyers. Now, I heard somebody talk about a couple of these items once, and I've talked to you all about these before, but we got them in all of our firms that come in the form of lawyers, that come in the form of staff. Each one of us has some, not of all, but of some of these in us. So here we go. Finders. These are your networkers, rainmakers. They're going all the time to get new cases, new clients, to get people in the door. Minders. The ones who worry about everything. The crude term that we use is anal, but I can just tell you about some of the law partners that I've had and some of the paralegals that I've seen. Anal is good because they are worrying about the details. They're worried about deadlines. They're worried about this happening or this not happening. And they pay attention to, well, what if we don't do this, that, or the others? Sometimes you get a finder who's not doing any minding. The minder protects the finder. The never minders. These are the slackers. They just do a minimum to get by. Grinders, they don't ever stop. Head down, and they're working, working with a sense of urgency. Every one of you know this. If you go into a law firm, and let's just say there are 20 private offices all lined up, one right next to the other, and they're all 12 by 12. There's one person in each one, and they've got a computer. As you walk by, you can tell who is working with a sense of urgency and who is not. You see it in their facial expressions. You see it in their body language. You see it in their intensity level. Very important. You must have grinders, and you've got to have a lot of grinder in you if you happen to be a finder. Another one, the binders. They make the deals, the closers, the negotiators. I remember back in the big tobacco cases of the mid to late 90s, when on the tobacco team in Florida, one set of lawyers, they did all of the research and the briefing. Another set argued the motions and the hearings. Another set, all negotiation and settlement. Another set, the trial lawyers. Another set, the bankers, the funding, the costs, the expenses. It was a wonderful thing to see the way they all worked together. But those negotiators, the deal makers, were the one dealing with the deal makers for big tobacco, and they made those settlements happen. They made those settlements happen because the other people on the team, including the trial lawyers, were the ones who held the proverbial sledgehammer over the head of the tobacco industry in those cases. Kinders. These are people who go around and they're very friendly and just talk to everybody and kind of chit chat a good bit of the day. I've often thought of it as they have the ability to turn a coffee break into a coffee marathon. Reminders. The reminders are important. They're vital, essential. These are the pests. They're making sure the rest of us stay on top of everything. You cannot have a productive law firm without people like this, or without having some of this in yourself. Vital. Winders, you know them. They're all tight, they're wound up, and if something, there's a little glitch in something, they tend to freak out. The winder, winder, just always complaining about everything. The negative one, the naysayer, they're the ones when you have a perfect day outside, like here in South Florida with a blue sky and it's 60 degrees and it's the middle of January. They'll say, I like the heat. I wish it was August. And I've seen that. And I always thought, well, there's got to be something wrong with somebody who wants August in Florida, but you will see them. The blinders, they can't face reality. These are the ones, I just saw this happen recently in a hearing I was at another state. When a lawyer who, in my view, had just been obliterated by a judge. The lawyer said, the judge responded so well to me. These are people who don't face reality, they're delusional. In your law firm, when people are delusional, by the way, I'm not talking about mental health, real delusional. I'm talking about people who can't face the facts that we got a problem in a case and we need to fix it. You got to really work with them to make them understand we got to face reality. What'd that do here? We got to face reality. Oops. I hit the wrong button.
By the way, John, this is incredible information. I'm already getting messages from everybody behind the scenes saying this is so good. And you guys, we are going to post a copy of this webinar on our Connectionology YouTube channel at the end, sometime today. I'll have that up for everybody. But be sure to subscribe because we have lots of other great webinars as well. John, if you would like, can we take a quick break?
I've got somebody coming to my rescue because I hit a wrong button and it threw it off kilter here. Dan?
Oh, no worries. And when we finish this up, John, if it's okay, I'm going to bring in two of our amazing partners so they can talk about all the great things that they do at their companies.
Okay, no, that sounds good.
That's good.
There we go. That's good. I'll take it back up.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the
Perfect.
having help on the way to make sure.
Well, I'm going to say that he's probably a grinder, if I can guess. Thank you so much for helping us out today. And then while we're getting all this set up, if anyone has any questions too, be sure to put those in the Q&A box and I will get to those shortly. But I'm going to be bringing in a few of our amazing partners in just a moment.
All right.
Got Laura with HMR who's going to come in. And John, is it okay we go ahead and bring them in now?
Yes.
Or do you want to just a moment?
No,
Okay,
no,
perfect.
We're good.
All right, I'm going to bring in Laura with HMR first. And I can't wait to hear what she's going to say. But HMR has been incredible and they do so many wonderful things. So I'm so glad that you're here with us. Hi, Laura. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ginger. Thank you, John. I love today's presentation and I would like a copy as well. It's very appropriate for these times. For those of you who may not know HMR Servicing, we are a nationwide company. We're a funding company that specializes in personal injury funding. We do, really so much for your case from the beginning to the end. We're able to provide medical funding as well as pre-settlement cost of living needs. And for the law firm, we actually can offer you case cost funding. So we're able to truly get involved from the most, beginning moment, maybe an MRI, all the way through your case to expert witness, to life care planning, to visuals and graphics. Whatever is needed, if the policy limits allow for it, we are able to roll up our sleeves, work with you, and decide truly what is possible. I've been with HMR for 6 years, and in that time, I've watched us grow as a company, really to become exactly what our law firm partners tell us that they need. So, the case cost funding, the portal addition, all these new things that we do, it seems like every 3 to 6 months, we're offering something new that has been requested. The reason we're able to grow as a company, I feel, is because of our process, which is very appropriate for today's conversation. Every case starts the same way, and that is on our website, at our attorney portal. We ask that you send us your case background. You're going to upload certain supporting documentation. You're going to give us that bird's eye view of your case. And from there, our team underwrites your case within 72 hours. We're determining what it is that we can do as a company to help your claimant and help the case move along. I think that beginning moment of handling each and every case the same is what makes us truly strong, but it's also a way for the attorney to organize their case in a way where now you have another set of eyes looking at those, the different case elements. If our underwriters need more information, they're going to work with you hand in hand to get those details and make sure that we keep things moving along. So, I'm sorry? Oh, I thought John had a question or a comment. I'd just like to throw out there that if you have a question about your case, it's as easy as going to our website at hmrservicing.com and getting underwriting and another person to talk to you about your case is absolutely no charge, and we're always happy to have those new moments with anyone that thinks that they might need help with their case. So thank you so much.
Well, I'm sorry about my little interlude there, but thank you so much. I mean, you all at HMR, you've been with us since the beginning and going back through those difficult times with COVID, not only sponsoring, but being there with us, going to Nashville with us and all these different locations. And I can't thank you enough for that support, but we've been working with you at HMR for years and years and years. And it's because what you all do for our clients, it helps so much. And I love how Everybody at HMR, you're so responsive. You vet the cases, you vet the lawyers, you vet the client, you vet everything about it to make sure, hey, if we do this, it's going to be something that ultimately will benefit the client and the case. And that's just extraordinary. So we love working with HMR. We're going to continue working with you. And I can't thank you enough for all you do with us as a team player.
Thank you so much for that, John. And I know it's that process that makes us strong and allows us to take on more and more cases. So thank you for that.
And Laura, don't forget to put your information in the chat box for everybody, okay?
Super. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you soon. Thanks, Laura. And now I'm very excited. Sorry, guys, that's Coconut, our mascot in the background. I'm going to get him in a moment, but I'm going to bring in Dawn with OnPoint to share all the great things that they do over there.
Hey, Ginger, nice to be with you today. I love listening to John talk about all of the efficiencies in your office and about how important reminders are. One of the things that I do in my program, I manage the expert witness location program at OnPoint. So, you know, you certainly could go out and find your own experts, but one of the things that makes us really unique and differentiates us is we find an expert, and of course, we're going to vet them and credential match them and, you know, discuss your case. And I've been a nurse for about 35 years, so I have a good critical care and broad nursing background so that I can really help you identify the best experts. But I have a whole team of administrative professionals that are really just top notch. And they really function as the reminders that, as John said, are so important. I like to say that we are the matchmakers. We don't go on the date. So we're going to match you with an expert. We're not going to run interference between you. You have direct access to your experts, but we are there in the background. So, you know, we stay on top of the experts. Every now and again, you have an errant expert that will kind of be absent, and we make sure that they're on task. We don't want you to ever miss a deadline. So we follow through on things like that. We'll reach out to you and ask if you've gotten records. We try and really do things to streamline the process and make things more efficient and simpler for your office team and for you, so that you can do all the important parts of managing your case. And it's just really an added benefit that comes with getting experts through OnPoint. In addition to expert location, we also have a fabulous nursing home program. Many of you have seen my colleague Ingrid talk about that. She provides experts for skilled nursing facilities, assisted living facilities, home health hospice, and we were very happy to have Patrick Stonich join our team. He's been involved in home health care and nursing home facilities for many, many years and brings a wealth of knowledge. So he's now on our team. And we also have Lisa Mancuso, who is the president of the American Association of Legal Nurse Consultants that manages all of our consults. So that would include things like pain and suffering reports. John has talked about them for a long time, and pain and suffering reports are a terrific way to really show a jury or show opposing counsel, if you're just looking for a settlement, what your client went through. What is it like to be intubated? What is it like to have wound debridements and all kinds of treatments? And it really describes it in a very graphic, visceral way to really drive home the point and make it real about what your client went through. And we really will customize these because at the end of the day, every case does not have the same value. So in some cases, you may want to pay an expert to do that report because you may think that they may need to testify. In some cases, you know that the expert is never going to testify, so you would want to do it as a consult rate, which is much more affordable. And there's various levels of depth. So everything that we do is customized specific to your case needs, so that it can fit into your budget. We try and be very respectful of your resources, not just with pain and suffering reports, but also with expert location, and really just try and provide backup and be those reminders to help keep your team on task, keep the experts on task, and to make things run more smoothly and efficiently in your office. So we'd love to talk with you and see how we might be able to help you on a case in the future.
Well, thank you so much. And you were right about those pain and suffering reports. It was you all at OnPoint who introduced our law firm to the pain and suffering report. We have ordered them many times over. They help us so much not only preparing for depositions, prepping for to put pleadings together, prepping for hearings, mediation, trial, and more. They help our experts. We, not in all cases, but in certain cases, we will give the pain and suffering report to an expert who can say, I relied upon this. It's the kind of information I regularly rely upon, and that assists them. But a real key is, I know this, if I call up to OnPoint and say, here is an issue, here is a case, here is a problem, either the person I'm talking to will help us right away or get us to the right person. And I think you all might remember, there was a time a few years ago where we needed someone on one of the infant formula NEC, necrotizing enterocolitis cases. And we came to you all, and it was late one night, I mean like about 10 o'clock. And at about 12:30 in the morning, I get a call back from you all saying, we have a PhD nurse practitioner whose specialty is lactose basically, and the feeding of infants and nurturing providing nutrition for infants. And it was just, she was just perfect for what we needed. And that kind of responsiveness that is so key. And I can't thank you enough. And you all have been there with us every step of the way also. And we'll keep working with you, and Connectionology will keep teaming up with you. So thank you again. Thank you.
We appreciate it, John. Thanks so much.
And Dawn, I hope we see you again here very soon. Don't forget to put your information in the chat box as well. And I hope that everybody watching will save her information, whether you have questions now or later on down the road. OnPoint and Dawn and all of the amazing team members over there are a great resource for you. So thanks for being with us today, Dawn.
My pleasure. Thanks, Ginger.
All right, John, now I'm excited to get back to the rest of this information because it was really good.
Let me see if I can do this without turning the machine off again. Help if I put on my glasses. All right.
Perfect.
This is what I refer to as the person. All of us have some of this in us, but we're attractors of distraction. It seems like in every law firm, there are 2 or 3 people, just everything is coming at them from every direction. The problem is, if you're getting ready for an important deposition or a mediation or an opening statement, when all of these distractions are happening, they pull away from your doing the job you need to do, thus being productive, thus finishing out the case, and either by way of settlement or verdict, getting funds in the door from that case. And it's not so easy. Sometimes people will say, well, I don't allow distractions if I'm getting ready for trial. Well, I'm sorry. There are things that happen in life, and it might be a personal, something personal happens in your family, somebody gets sick, your building's on fire, I don't know what it'll be, but there are distractors that occur. The judge calls you on the phone and said, look, I know I said you're starting next Wednesday. I'm gonna have to start you Monday. Well, that would get everybody's attention if it's Friday and the judge is now gonna start you much earlier. So as we look at this, I think when you look at this photo, you can say, hey, I feel like I know that guy. I feel there are some times when I am that guy, when all these things are being thrown at me or coming at me from different directions. Part of being productive is to wisely, smartly deal with distractions, because they are going to occur. I remember years ago, a great golfer made a shot. The shot went in a different direction that he wanted it to go, and he got all upset saying it was because somebody in the gallery made some noise. Well, I'm sorry, but if you're a professional athlete, you need to be able to deal with somebody making a little noise in the gallery. And don't go crazy and start blaming everybody for it. Learn to deal with those things. And that's what we must do to be productive. So it's important that we talk to our staff, that we talk among our lawyers. Sometimes we talk to the clients to let them know why it is that there are certain times where we must be able to just focus on what we have to do for a given task. Very, very important. So let's define productivity. Because to be productive and to understand it, you have to know how to define it. If you're in trial and it's a medical malpractice case, it's legal malpractice if you fail to have an expert define what is meant by standard of care or breach of the standard of care. If you're in a products case, it's legal malpractice if you don't have an expert explain what is meant by defect, a product defect. All right. So we have to define it so that we understand what productivity is. Accurate measurement of how effectively, I'm going to repeat this twice, I know it's up on the screen, but it's important. The accurate measurement of how effectively, how efficiently, how smoothly a given task is completed or a work assignment concluded with a given result. You can have a lawyer depose Dr. Jones, who is the big defense medical examiner in a given geographical location. And you can have another lawyer at another firm, similar case, likewise preparing to depose that defense medical examiner. Yet one is effectively and efficiently prepping for that depot, goes into the depot and like a surgeon with a scalpel just cuts away at all of the nonsense being said in the way of opinions and support for opinions and all of that, and comes out with the result nobody would believe that doctor. That is a productive lawyer for that set of tasks. Whereas the other lawyer goes in, takes the deposition for 6 hours, is all over the place, and when the depo's done, it didn't do anything to take the case to a different level. So for every task, we need to be productive for everything we are doing every day. So if I am preparing an initial set of requests for admissions, I need to be productive. So I need to be doing it correctly. I need to know the law. It should take me not some made up period of time, but a reasonable period of time to put them together so that the result will be we are doing good for the case and client once these are served, and even better, hopefully, once they are responded to. That is all part of productivity. It is the amount of impact you create each hour. You don't want to look back and say, well, I had a productive day. I feel as though I had a productive day. I'm not really sure what I did. No, you minute by minute, hour by hour, you must achieve a level of productivity. Impact factor, 3 dimensions when it comes to this assessment and evaluation of productivity. It's your quantity of output. How much work are you really doing? What are you really producing? If somebody sent me out into the forest and said, we need firewood. Go chop down 2 trees so that we'll have plenty of firewood for a given period of time, let's say 2 months. Then I may say, okay, I'm going to take the axe, I'm going to go out and I will chop down the tree, then make it into the smaller logs, haul them back. All of those parts are productive. But to do it, I need to do it in a reasonable period of time and come back and have done it correctly. Very important. What is the quantity? What is the work, the output? The second factor, the second dimension, your quality. If I'm bringing back finely cut logs that are usable in the fireplace, mommy or daddy will say, hey, you did a great job out there. I'm proud of you. But if I bring them back and I bring them back as 10-foot logs, they go, these are useless for the fireplace in the house. I'm glad you cut down the tree, but we can't use these. Now we got to go back out. We got to start over. We got to cut them up in a different way so that they'll be usable. Third dimension, value added or created by what you, as the paralegal, the legal assistant, the investigator, the lawyer, have done in order to complete that task. There are some new ways people are talking about measuring productivity. And I will just share this with you. Back in 1991, I was a part of a meeting where I know that decisions were being made based on who was or was not productive. And it turned out that the person doing the analysis or assessment of productivity of a bunch of lawyers in a meeting, a big meeting, pointed and said, you, and you are minimally productive. These happen to be partners in the law firm. They didn't like being called out in front of everybody, and they definitely didn't like being tagged as unproductive. Yet, when we saw everything in the data, it was true. That often happens in firms where all of a sudden somebody says, well, I've reached a certain status in my career, so I'm going to take a step back. You cannot do what we do as a hobby. I'll repeat that. You cannot do what we do as a hobby. You're either all in or get out. You may choose to do something different. That's acceptable. But if you're going to be a frontline trial lawyer, you can't do that as a hobby. So in measuring productivity, be looking at this. You can look this up. There are many articles on this now. WTE, work time efficiency. It is the measure of time billed or fees earned as a function of the amount of time worked. So this has to do with how much work are you doing in terms of the time you are putting into it, considering what is being produced in terms of, in traditional firms, billable hours, but in plaintiffs' firms, fees coming in the door when the contingent fee kicks in. TE, task efficiency, the measure of time spent to complete a task timely and adequately. The most important thing for us is that you can't, for the most part, put a time constraint on what we do. Most of us are so frustrated and bewildered when a judge says, you can pick a fair jury, I'll let you do what you want and need to do, but Each side gets 45 minutes. 45 minutes. And somebody's life might be at stake. And yet in some states, that's what we see judges doing. You can't do that within a specified time spot, just like I can't say to a young lawyer, prepare the brief in opposition to the Daubert motion. I must have it prepared completely. Don't spend any more than 2 hours on it. No. You spend whatever time is necessary. And usually if it's a young lawyer working on a Daubert motion, that means midnight, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, or whatever is necessary. So be thinking about these two terms. WT, work time efficiency, TE, task efficiency. These are ways of measuring productivity within your law firm, ways of measuring productivity of lawyers and staff. And there's no perfect way of doing it when it comes to in the office setting. There just is not. All right. Take a look at this article, The Problem with Law Firm Productivity Metrics. It's a February 2002 article written by William Jostin. When you read it, you will see how he delves into the concepts and the methodologies of how we measure productivity in law firms. And admittedly, it is a difficult and daunting task when you're trying to make these evaluations. Here are your components of production. If you're grading lawyers and staff and trying to be objective, your performance evaluators. Some of these are so clear, you'll know what they are. Attendance, punctuality, dependability, reliable, that's more subjective. Initiative. Let me go back to initiative just a moment. I had just recently, I was coming back. I'd been out for depositions and I'd gone somewhere for one of the organizational meetings. I came back in and I was supposed to be taking a deposition a few days later, and one of our young lawyers in the office working with one of our paralegals, and I hadn't spoken to them about this before. They just did it on their own, prepared these fabulous notebooks for me to review and to have available at the time of the deposition, and actually put together an extraordinary outline, and not an outline that just, here are the questions you got to ask or the areas you got to go through in the depo, but embedded medical records right into the outline. So I wouldn't have to go moving through all kinds of notebooks. That kind of incentive or initiative is so wonderful when you see that from lawyers and from staff. Enthusiastically assisting others, that's a big one. Quality of work. You just imagine if you're sending out a brief and you had a legal assistant with typos and grammatical errors, that maybe you even dictated some of the grammatical errors. Well, they got to fix that, okay, so that it doesn't go out. So I'm trusting them to have a high level of quality in their work. Percentage of time in a given day of work focusing on the clients and goals as compared to personal time or efforts. And that is huge in this day and age. There's another one. Mistake-free work versus continuing errors. I know one lawyer in a law firm, I've known him a long time. Whatever it is that she does, it's like perfect. Yet I know another lawyer who, it's a person who I haven't seen him in about 10 years, but the kind of person where you got to check everything they do to make sure it's done right, it's accurate, the citations are done right, and you know the kind of lawyer that I'm talking about. What is the value you are adding to the cases, value you're adding to your law firm, and where would the firm be without you? Be asking that, assess that. Components of productivity, more on this grading. Enthusiasm. That has so much to do with what gets done and the way it gets done. In fact, I was talking to a mediator recently who previously was a circuit court judge in Florida. And he said one of the biggest criticisms he had of lawyers who had come before him is their lack of passion and enthusiasm. And I said, well, passion, that comes in many forms. It doesn't have to be some lawyer who's up there, going crazy and crying and getting on his knees and being dramatic. Sometimes it's a lawyer who might be very, very quiet. He understood that. He said, but enthusiasm is something you just see. You feel it coming from someone. Integrity. The key of keys in your work, your attitude, all of these. Are you hungry? Get John Morgan's book. John Morgan, Morgan & Morgan has a book, You Can't Teach Hungry. What an extraordinary book. It's all about getting hungry, being hungry, and staying hungry in order to get business, in order to perform well in your marketing. How does this person work with others? Quick study, fast learning. You see all of these. I'll send this to you, by the way, anybody who wants it. If you send me an email, john@romanolawgroup.com, but also send it to Nancy, my wife, nancy@romanolawgroup.com. That way we'll get your request, we'll send that to you, and I'll send you any of these slides because I know it's tough taking notes going so fast through these. Do you have a system in place to grade lawyers? I've put one together that is very detailed about grading not just other lawyers, but myself also in depositions. The quality of the questions, the quality of the outline. I know that you can't throw up an answer on the screen right now, but one question I would ask of everybody is, who taught you how to prepare the witness outline to take a deposition? And most people say, I learned it on my own, because nothing like that's taught in seminars. So when I say objective assessment, it's basing, you set up a finite and objective set of factors. Your case lifespan assessment. When that case comes into the office, how long should it be here? How long should it take for us to get this case completed? And there are factors that'll make it go quicker or make it last longer. But in general, we all know that an automobile case that has to be put in suit with neck surgery, at least in Florida, should not take 8 years to get to verdict. If it does, something is going on that is not right with that law firm, with the lawyer, or I suppose it could be some other things. Success in handling or winning motions, how you grade your depositions, looking at settlements and verdicts, meeting your marketing needs. Subjectively, you're looking at enthusiasm, working with a sense of urgency, providing assistance to others. Essential to measure productivity. Don't just go forward and say, well, we don't need to measure it. I got a good feel for what's happening and what's not happening. You know what? That's like getting in a car and you leave Las Vegas and you're heading through the desert and you say, I don't need a gas gauge. Well, that's a bit risky. And it's one thing to take the risk yourself, but if you have a spouse and friends or children or others in that car, you can't even start that trip without the ability to measure the fuel. Otherwise, you might be risking something really horrible happening to everybody. Accomplishments and what is accomplished or not for the client. Ask, what has the lawyer accomplished for the client as the end result as compared to the initial case goal? We have a lawyer in West Palm. He passed away, but he was a great lawyer, got a lot of great verdicts, and was very famous down here in South Florida. And he would take a case in, and he would talk on the first day about value of the case with the client. And then he would say, let me review all the records, and then we're going to meet in another couple of months. And he would do that. And in that meeting, they would set a number that would be a line in the sand. He always did it. And if they did not agree to pay that number, the case went to trial, which is why he had over 400 jury verdicts under his belt by the time he passed away. And what happens in a lot of cases is lawyers, they bail. They cave in. For whatever reason, they just make a decision. I want to cut out now. I don't want to go to trial. In cases that need to be tried, that's what I'm talking about. So it's, what was the initial case goal? And then what is it that has happened to either make you feel just as strong about that or completely change your mind for a real and legitimate reason, not a reason as to why you just say, I just don't want to try this case. There's another one. Every case, you got to follow the case lifespan. There's a great lawyer down in Boca Raton, Miami. His name is Stuart Grossman. He went to trial in a very serious, hotly contested wrongful death case about 20 years ago. I heard about the verdict. I called him up. I congratulated him. It was against the power company. And I asked him, I said, did I get this straight? It looks like this happened 12 months ago. He said it did happen 12 months ago. I said, well, so case comes into you, a wrongful death case. You file suit, get it to verdict in 12 months? Because that seemed pretty fast to me. He said, yes. And he said, Johnny, let me tell you something. When you have cases hanging around more than 12 to 18 months, something is wrong. And there are not many exceptions to that. Case relationship journey with the client. That's going to evolve, but you want to stay in touch with the client. Productive lawyers do that. I had a staff meeting just this morning with our staff and lawyers, and I told them all, the call we never want to get is from a client saying, what's happening? How's my case going? The call I never want to get is from a referral lawyer. Hey, that case that I sent to you, how's it going? What's happening? We want to stay ahead of the client, stay ahead of referral lawyers by communicating with them, letting them know what's going on so that we don't get those kind of calls. The relationship journey with the referral lawyer, efficiency in the lifespan, cost, expenditure, efficiency, because you must be efficient. You got to take care of the money you're spending on a case, because although you need to spend whatever you got to do for the good of the case, you got to remember in the end that comes out of the client's share. So it must be money only being spent which is necessary and which is wise. Some lawyers a little while back got in very big trouble out west with a federal judge because they won a case and they went in for their costs. And the judge says, what's this about? I see these receipts. And he says, it looks like it was what you all call a working dinner meeting. But the people who attended are 4 lawyers from the same firm. And it looks like you bought several bottles of wine. And the judge was very upset with that. The judge in that particular case was also very upset with the hotel they stayed in, for which the client was getting charged, and because they flew out on first-class tickets and made the clients pay that. Now, it's one thing if you have a business client and it's a big company and they give you authority to stay in a palace, that's one thing. But most of our clients in contingent fee cases, they need every penny we can get for them. And they don't need us throwing away their money on things that are really luxury items.
And hey, John,
All
before we
right,
get to the
ready?
next, yeah, before
Okay.
we get to the next slide, I'm so excited that we were going to bring in Cody with Fox-AE, who's going to share all these great things that they do over there. But you might want to add on to some of the things you're talking about too.
Hey, thanks, Ginger. Hey, thanks, John. Actually, I want to just go ahead and share my screen and show you some of this, because like I've got a business coach and he's really talks a lot about some of the same things you're teaching here, John. And it's been immensely helpful to me. I'm going to share my screen and show you something cool. All right. I think that's going through. Can you guys see my screen? Can you see me writing here? Are you guys able?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great. So one of the things, okay, so this is my iPad and I'm able to share it on a screen, just like an IPVO. So Mark Lanier, he talks about trial presentation. So you can actually use this for trial presentation like an IPVO. But what's really cool is I'm going to add to your conversation here, John, because, and I'm going to use my iPad as an IPVO to communicate kind of how we're doing this. But one of the tricks that my business coach told me is, I'll just share a story with you. We recently, that's a heart. We recently were looking into 3D printing, you know, something besides hard plastic, something that a juror could squish. And we were really looking into brain damage and 3D printing body parts. And so I was really excited to show my business coach. I'm like, look at this, you know, we can print collagens and we're looking into this and I think we can do it. And I can't wait to, he said, Cody, stop, stop for a second. Hold on. Let's look at your goals. Let's look at your perfect week. And I appreciate the creativity and I appreciate all that, but you need to look at what you need to do. And so what he did was he gave me this template. And so I've outlined my perfect week here. So I can draw with this little IPVO device. I can draw. It's kind of cool. But so this in red is production. This is optimization and processes. And this is networking and relationship building. And that is what I need to be doing more of, is calling attorneys, building real relationships. And so as you can see, I've got that all in my week. And what I do is everybody's week changes. And so your perfect week changes. I'm going out of town. So every week I do this and I'm trying to stay true to my perfect week. And so that's just a little fun thing that, let me stop my screen sharing. That's a little fun thing that has kept me on task and kept me efficient. So anyway, you're talking about doing the right things, not just doing things right. And so I'm focusing on the right things, John, or trying to.
Well, very respectfully, what I did not see in your perfect week was where it should say pleasant Zoom calls with John and Ginger and Nancy. I didn't see that.
You know, I moved all of my
Just
highlights
saying.
around.
No. Well, look, Cody, first of all, that was great. That's important. That's helpful. But I want to thank you, you and Vicki and your team, the way you are so supportive and part of this team and what we're doing with continuing education for everyone in connectionology. We cannot thank you enough. And I'm so really genuinely happy that we were able to team up with you and with your family and everybody there at Fox-AE. But the work that you all do, the work is beyond extraordinary. And I will tell everybody, Cody and his team recently, they created and developed a poster which you can put up on your wall in your office. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. He'll send it to you. But this poster shows, provides information and examples of each and every TBI diagnostic test and other tests that are not diagnostic tests, but they confirm or verify the existence or extent of brain injury. And he's actually going to be expanding on that as we move through the next few months and years. But those kind of things, all they do is help the rest of us. And the work that you all are doing and the cases that we have done with you and we are doing with you, seriously, it is just extraordinary. And I can honestly tell people, I can put my hand on a Bible or take a lie detector test and I pass it when I say on a 1 to 10 scale, the work that you all are doing is an 11. So I can't thank you enough.
Hey, right back at you, John. It's just great working with you and your team. You're an efficient team. They always, they're always like 2 steps ahead of the game when they call me and I've got questions. It's amazing.
Well, it's funny that you say that because about 20 minutes ago, a piece of paper came under the door. I don't know who put it there, but it's one of our wise guy employees. Maybe it was Nancy, pushed it through and it said, "Practice what you preach, John." So we have fun.
Well, thank you for everything.
All right.
Connectionology,
Thank you.
John. You guys are great. Thanks.
Thank you, Cody. And don't forget to put your information in the chat box so that way everybody can call you and also try to get one of those posters too. So thank you for all that you do. We're going to see you in about 2 weeks in Hawaii. We're going to be seeing you in a few more months when we do our Fort Worth, Texas advanced deposition skills seminar. So thank you for everything that you do. All right, John, back to you.
Can I go a few more minutes? Maybe, how about everybody if we go about 15 minutes, then I'll stop. Okay? All right, let me go back here. All right. Accomplishment. You're assessing your lawyers, you're assessing yourselves. It's like if there was a presiding judge, ask yourselves, how would that judge assess me? One of the very first cases I tried was a criminal case. And right afterwards, the judge, who was just a great, great guy, while the jury was out deliberating, he said, "Would you two like me to comment on what I saw you all doing during the trial?" And the judge knew we were in our, I was 24 at the time. And I said, "Yes, sir, that would be wonderful." He looked right at me and he goes, "I got a question for you. Why did you never argue any motion or present any argument in your summation?" And I was stunned. I thought, geez, I don't know. I thought I had done a fairly good job. He goes, "You never argued a single point. You just repeated and rehashed evidence. On motions, you would say, I'm citing this case and that case, therefore rule with me. But you didn't argue any logic. You didn't make analysis evaluation." He goes, "Do yourself a favor. When you're trying a case in front of a jury, pretend you're in the jury box and ask yourself, if I were a juror, what would be important for me to hear while this lawyer is examining this witness or making this statement?" And it changed my perspective forever on how I approached cases. So make sure that you are thinking about that. What impression are you leaving on the defense lawyers as to your work ethic, your focus? Defense lawyers measure you. Defense lawyers make reports about you. And a lot of that has to do with the offers you get or you don't get. And we really began to see this probably 35 or more years ago, in Florida anyway, in bad faith litigation, because we were able to obtain the files of the defense lawyer and the adjuster. And in those, we would see these charts and diagrams evaluating the lawyers with ability to argue, articulate or not, lazy or not, smart or not, all those kinds of things. And it was very, very helpful, very important. How would lawyers' job be graded? By a panel of 100 board certified lawyers evaluating your handling of the case from start to finish. Can you imagine that? If everything you did in a case you're handling now had to be set out before a panel of 100 board certified lawyers and they graded you. You don't need to answer the question, but most of us would not say A+. And those who would say A+, respectfully, you might be a little delusional. Because if you're thinking that way, then you're thinking you don't have room for improvement. I got news for you. You got room for improvement. We all do. Production in the context of handling litigation, forward movement of your case, lifespan, and the result. And I'll give you some examples of productive versus non-productive. You see here, paralegal A receives defendant interrogatories, takes immediate steps to obtain info to respond, provides full, complete responses in 20 days that are good responses. They're accurate information. They're done right. They're done well. And you send them back early. By the way, when you send back interrogatory answers early, you send a huge message to the defense lawyer and to the claims people. These people are sharp. They are on the ball. They are motivated. They are enthusiastic. They care about their client. And we have a problem with them. What they're used to is on day 29, hey, I need an extension. Could you give me another 30 days? All right, we don't want to be that lawyer. Paralegal B, just the opposite. All right, every member of the team being productive, yes, no, yes, because it has an effect on everybody in your firm. And it can be detrimental to your firm efficiency. All you need is one person to slow it down. And I'm going through these quickly because I know where we are on time. Again, I will send these to you. All right. I want to skip through this because I want to get to another item. Indicator of a non-productive lawyer seeking constant reassurance or approval. That's a lawyer, Jim. By the way, I'm not talking about a brand new lawyer, because if you're within the first couple of years of practice, it's a natural that you're going to want to go in and say, did I do this right? How could I have done this better? That's going to be important. But there comes a point where you get beyond that. You don't want to be indecisive. You want someone who's has initiative, not somebody who's on cruise control, but somebody always working with a sense of urgency. These are self-explanatory. I'm going to send this to you. I'm going to skip through that. One thing that I want to tell you is, for those of you who are watching and those of you who hung in there with us, I have some good news for you. There is a website, cvn.com, Courtroom View Network, and there are literally hundreds and hundreds of jury trials and hearings on Courtroom View Network, which have been videoed. Since you are listening to this today, if you send an email to Courtroom View Network, and you let them know that you were here at this webinar, and you let them know that I was the speaker, they will give you a 1-week free subscription to Courtroom Video Network, and you will be able to jump in there and navigate all through their website and actually see and watch trials by great lawyers from all over the country. Likely you will have some defense expert in one of your cases. You will get on there and see the direct and cross of that expert in other cases, but it is an extraordinary resource. CVN.com, courtroomviewnetwork.com. All right. And as we come to the conclusion here, and then Ginger, if we do have time, we will go ahead and take some questions, and I'll try to get them answered. I would just ask all of you, jump on the internet and go find this poem, The Man in the Glass. It's extraordinary. When you get a chance, get off somewhere quiet and read it to yourself. And it's it's extraordinary. It's emotional, it's powerful, but it's all about our looking at ourselves and how proud we will be if ultimately we can look at the man or woman in the glass and say, hey, you did good. That's what we want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. Ginger, I'll come, let me stop the sharing here. And there we go. And if there are any questions, any questions?
Yeah, there is, and this is a good one too. This one comes from James, and he wants to know, how do you find productive people? What do you look for?
Wow. I think one of the real truth tellers is that person's history. That person's experience will tell me a lot about how I can predict what his or her future will be. One of the things that I've liked to do over the years is ask, when you were in high school, when you were in college, maybe when you were in law school, what jobs did you have? Well, somebody will say, when I was in 9th and 10th grade, I worked at McDonald's. When I was in 11th grade and 12th grade, I did construction. When I got to college, I delivered pizzas for some pizza place. I don't care what it was. I am impressed by that kind of activity, by young men and women who made the effort to earn some extra money, to perhaps help their parents put them through school, or maybe to earn enough, maybe they had to put themselves through school and they had to earn that money or make payments on loans. That says a lot to me. I'm always impressed by people's grades because I do respect that some in school work so hard to get a high GPA, but I've never let that be a decision maker. I would not think twice if I found somebody with a great attitude, smart, hard worker and all that, and they got out of college and law school with a 2.5 average, I'd still hire them in a heartbeat. I look for, if they were in activities, what were the activities and what did they do? Were you in Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts? Did you play sports? Were you in student government? That's the kind of thing that tells me what they're going to be like, because at the top of it all, I want to hire great human beings, people that everybody around here in the law firm, we're going to love them, they're going to love us, they're going to work hard, and they're going to do wonderful things for our clients. Just this morning, during, again, the meeting that we had with lawyers and staff, I was commenting about how one of our clients, a paralyzed man, the most important thing, or one of the most important things in his life while his case has been pending, was one of our paralegals, Rebecca. He would say, if I could just talk to her on the phone. He said, all I've got to do is hear her on the phone and I am comforted. That was it. He's comforted by her. That's part of what we do as plaintiff lawyers. We comfort people. We put our arms around them figuratively, maybe actually also, but we put our arms around them and we say, hey, we're going to help you get through this somehow, some way. So I'm looking for people who can do that.
Thank you so much. That was great. And now we've got another question from another great trial lawyer, our friend Dan Ransdale. John, he says, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Would you agree?
I do tend to agree because I've never seen somebody who is a mega hard worker on these things who's a slacker on these things. People tend to be that way. The way they act, the way they behave is how they are most all of the time. There can be other things that could trigger something. I get those things happen in life, but for the most part, I agree with that. Say that again. Repeat that again, please.
Okay, he said, how you do one thing. This is how you do one thing is how you will do everything. Do you agree?
I do agree with that. I think that's important. Dan is a great trucking lawyer from out of the great state of Missouri, and very, very important. And he knows the importance and the meaning of that. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, let me see if there's any more questions. Oh, we got Robert Buzzard. Robert, thank you for watching today too. He's in California. He says, hi, John. I've been litigating cases
I
for
know
only
where
2
he's
years.
at. I know where he's at. I keep track of where everybody is.
He says, I've been litigating cases for only 2 years. What is one thing that I can focus on to help me manage cases and keep them moving?
I mean, the first thing, Robert, that jumps into my mind is, and you've heard me say this before, Robert, focus on the cause of the client, the needs of the client, what is best for the client every step of the way, and never confuse that with what's best for the law firm or yourself. Because if you stay focused on client, the client, the client, the client, the client, the client, you repeat that constantly, you will do as best as you can do in any given case for the client. And you will reap reward after reward coming back to you for doing that. So you focus on that, it comes back to you tenfold.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. All right, I don't see any more questions at the moment, but I do see so many wonderful compliments saying thank you so much for putting on this presentation, John. Great presentation. Thank you. And I thought it was good too. I mean, I love hearing all of this. And I do want to bring in real quickly before we head out, and I'll see if there's any more last minute questions, but I want to bring in Ted with HMR, who's going to do our wonderful coffee giveaway. He's going to announce the winner, and that person is going to win 4 bags of freshly roasted coffee. So you're going to enjoy this coffee. I don't know. I think Ted has given away maybe, I don't
There
know,
he
hundreds of
is.
thousands of bags. Ted, we're so glad you're here with us. Thank you for everything that you do. Thanks for being with us in Nashville just a couple weeks ago to see how we do the seminars out there. We had a great time and we were happy that you joined us.
Well, wonderful. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to join you guys. So it was great time.
Absolutely.
So for the coffee, I'm excited to announce, and I believe this is a first-time winner after all these months and months and months and years. It's Noel Harris out of Greenville, Mississippi is our big winner today. So congratulations.
Congratulations. All right. Well, you heard it first. We're going to reach out to, I think, is it Noel or Noel? Could be
It's
either
Noel.
one. Noel?
Yeah.
Well, Noel, congratulations. We're going to reach out to you shortly and we'll make sure that you get this coffee. Ted, thank you so much for being here to do this with us. And also, don't forget that if you didn't win today, there's another chance on Thursday because we have another amazing webinar planned for you. And we hope you guys will tune in at 3 o'clock. Just go to connectionology.com to sign up. And thanks for sharing all of our webinars with all of your colleagues. I will be posting this again on our YouTube channel with Connectionology, as well as a couple other ones that I need to add on as well. So stay tuned to that. But Ted, thank you for being with us day in, day out. We really appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure.
All right, you guys. And looks like Bruce Berger said, thanks for another great webinar. Cash Sessler is watching. He said, awesome presentation and always motivational, John. Cash will actually be with us on Thursday, so we're gonna have a great time. If anyone has any other questions, I want to make sure that you have the contact information for John and all of our amazing partners over at HMR, OnPoint, and Fox-AE. Again, if you would like a copy of today's slides, you'll be able to email John at john@romanolawgroup.com and nancy@romanolawgroup.com. I will email this to you guys in just a few moments as well. But stay in touch. And if you think of any additional questions, be sure to reach out to John. And John, once again, thank you for all that you do. I love hearing, any topic that you can teach us on, but more importantly, all the stories and the experience that you have. This has been incredible. So thanks for your help today.
Thank you. Thank you, Ginger. And thank you again for all you do. This has been fun. I've enjoyed it.
Me too. All right. Bye, everybody. We're going to see you back here again soon. And hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Bye, everybody.
Bye.